I want to discuss 2 book references in Life is Strange that aren't often addressed in theories, but before that, of course, as usual there will be spoilers from episodes 1 to 4, so if you have yet to play, I recommend you do so before watching this theory. La Horde du Contrevent, I'm bound to butcher the pronunciation of that, so I apologize, is a novel written by French writer Alain Damasio, co-founder of Dontnod. You can find the reference to this book by the lighthouse, the wind glyphs.
Weird. Those glyphs remind me of the wind.
Now, obviously people have discussed this reference briefly, but I have yet to see anyone discuss why it's relevant, and I had some thoughts on that I wanted to share. Now, the book is written in French and has yet to be translated into English, so since I don't understand or speak French, I can only go off limited information available that is in English or can be translated. And since books are interpreted differently by different people, there's a chance that how I interpret the information I have or relate it to the game's themes is flawed or incorrect or differs from the actual intention. To give you a brief compacted outline of the plot, it's about a group of 23 people who march literally against the wind to fulfill their quest to reach the source of all wind. Several people's voices act as narrators, each having their own symbol in the book to help readers try to differentiate, but they also have different points of view. So the important things to note for relating the book to Life is Strange. This wind is apparently magical and even creates cyclones, and from what I've gathered also seems to be talked about in different ways, in a literal sense, a symbolic, and metaphorical. It served multiple purposes and applied to much of the characters' personal journeys, both emotionally and physically, as well as the bigger overall plot. This perfectly sums up how I see the tornado approaching Arcadia Bay. It seems to be not just a real threat, but representative of the very personal and turbulent journey Max is on. Tornadoes are violent and destructive in nature, and similarly, it can represent powerful emotions, rage, chaos, powerlessness. It can be dreamt of when a person feels powerless or when experiencing unpredictable events. But while they do destroy everything in their path, perhaps the point is that this can act as a path clearer, emotionally and metaphorically, to make way for a new start in life. Another important thing to note is the characters' internal struggles with the nature of that which they are fighting for. They aren't entirely sure if their journey is misguided or what gives it meaning, or the meaning of their lives in general. How do they continue to push forward and continue to fight when they're not sure what they're fighting for to begin with? What is it they're even looking for to complete their quest? Similarly, Max describes feeling powerless, unsure of her choices, feeling lost, unable to grasp the whole situation. The book is numbered in reverse order, meaning it counts down to page 0. The intention here is to read it this way. I'm not sure what the writer's purpose was for this, but to me it seemed like the rest of the book's themes, going about things backward, traveling upstream or against the wind, starting at the end to get to the beginning. We seem to start Life is Strange like this, at the end with a tornado vision. I won't make too many assumptions here as I have no proof, but could this be a confirming reference to Max being stuck in time, perhaps in a loop, or perhaps that we're seeing things out of order? Another book reference comes from the darkroom in The Construction Agreement, the 1943 novel The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. The basic outline of the plot being about an individualistic architect, Howard Roark, who believes to achieve pure art it must not be compromised by collectivism. He eventually is arrested for dynamiting a building he designs because he believes it was compromised by letting other architects have an input on his design. It's a book that idealizes individuality and logical thinking, the main villain using altruism, collectivism, and general emotional thinking as a means to control and manipulate people to do things for him. I don't understand Howard as a character or much like him. His actions to me seem unrelatable, yet the writer makes him seem like the perfect character. Howard never compromises or deviates from his principles. He does not show signs of growth. He's logically thinking, uncompromising, and individualistic above all else. To me, he seems like a self-serving, egotistical man who rationalizes his extremely criminal actions by depicting himself in court as a truthful man surrounded by a corrupt world that wants him to sacrifice his individuality. I have nothing against individuality, but personally I think there are advantages to both collectivism and individuality. And that is one thing, but destroying a whole building because things don't go the way you planned it is obnoxious to say the least, childish, criminal, and so on. But again, that's just my opinion. How does this relate to Life is Strange as far as I can see? I'm not so sure since we know so little of the characters, but the closest comparison I can draw is Mr. Jefferson. He's very passionate about his art, photography, and what he's doing in the darkroom to me is totally confusing and meaningless, but maybe not so much to him. Let's consider my theory of Mr. Jefferson for a moment. The giant leap I made about him being a technical serial killer. I suggested that perhaps through the course of doing his work, he's ended up having to kill, and not that he's ever planned to murder. I also mentioned that some serial killers believe that their actions are for a higher purpose, or that their actions serve a purpose that justifies having to kill. If he believes what he's doing serves a higher purpose, and I'm not going to question the validity of this because there's so much we don't know, then perhaps it could be about preserving his ability to photograph these drugged teenage girls. Perhaps the whole darkroom deal is a way for Mr. Jefferson to do his art without having it be compromised, similarly to Howard in The Fountainhead. As usual, this is just one of my theories and is not to be taken as the one right answer. There's so much we don't know. I share what I consider to be interesting theories that my gut feelings tell me are accurate, but for me, the whole point of this is to start interesting conversations about this game that I think brings up very important themes, or simply to even contribute something small maybe to people who are much better at theorizing than I am. If you share my opinions or this theory, please let me know in the comment section, or if you have any suggestions for future videos or differing opinions. If you liked the video and would like to see more like this in the future, please like and subscribe.